पढ़ता इद्या
Yeah.
Welcome to the Dynamic Learning Hub of ExcelR at Andheri East. A prime spot conveniently located at just a 5-minute walk from LIC Andheri Metro. In our journey of over a decade, we have proudly trained over 2 lakh students. We We've also been recognized by Deloitte, Silicon India, and other accreditation bodies. Experience learning like never before in our spacious and comfortable classrooms. High-definition projectors and state-of-the-art acoustics in place, we ensure effective learning even to the farthest point in the room. The hybrid mode is a game changer as you can enjoy the benefits of a live classroom from the comfort of your home. Even if you happen to miss any classroom session, you can still attend the same session with the same trainer at the same time at your convenience, maintaining consistency in your learning progress. Wanna get started? Join us for a demo or career chat over a cup of coffee at our Andheri branch. ExcelR. We don't just train, we build careers.
Yes, so the collaboration with ExcelR was an excellent one. We conducted a Power BI workshop with Advanced Excel over a span of 3 days. The workshop was almost 12 hours long in total. Mr. Karthik, who was an amazing trainer, helped the students understand the concepts deeply. I'm sure that the students will be able to apply these concepts in their careers as well as their daily lives.
The trainer, Mr. Karthik, was an excellent person where he explained in very detailed manner on how to give great insights using very complex data sets.
To support.
So it was a machine learning workshop. We learned a lot from the course, and it was a great experience attending the workshop.
The trainer was very helpful. He had a hands-on approach with his teaching, and it was fabulous.
This was great experience for me. So I would absolutely love it if ExcelR and its team would come again to our campus and conduct more events like this.
It is family. Position over
It was a great course, and it started from basics and took me to a great extent.
The experience of the workshop was really nice. The feedback from all the students was positive. They understood the concept. The workshop was also practical based with some questions. The experience with ExcelR was very smooth. They helped us in conducting the workshop smoothly right from the booking of the vendor and deciding the course till the distribution of certificates. In overall, this workshop was a success during our technical fest Atmos, and I thank ExcelR for being a part of it.
Pipe, clay, triangle, and crucible, CRU, above the I did. When hiring,
Good evening, all. I hope my voice is audible. Aditya sir, good evening. Kindly confirm, is my voice audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible, ma'am.
Yeah, you can start the session, sir.
Okay. Good evening to all of you. Let me just share my screen, then we are going to start the session. I think my screen is visible to all of you right now.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Let me open the Salesforce here. Okay, so in the last class we talked about till, if I remember correctly, we talked about till the while loop, and I also give you a task. Now today we are going to talk about the for loop, which we are going to study today. And after the for loop, we need to study the break statement, and then we are going to shift to the next topic, which is classes in Apex programming language, or you can say the OOPS concept. So this is the topics we need to learn today. So let me just start without wasting our time. So first of all, let's start with for loop. Now for loop is a little bit different compared to the while and do while loop. And in programming, we maximally use the for loop or the while loop or do while loop, because sometimes what have our condition, sometimes we want that the code will execute if the condition is wrong or right, and whatever that happens, if the condition does not satisfy, at least we want that the body of the loop will execute once, then we use do while loop. But we want some type of function when we programs, when we want to use, no, our code should execute it if the condition is right, then we always use for loop, because for loop is better than while. And in this programming and in this examples, I'm going to show you why for is better compared to while and while loop. Now first talk about what is actually a for loop in Apex programming language. So if you talk about loop or a for loop, so a for loop is basically a control structure or used in programming to repeat a block of code multiple times. Why we need to use for loop, and what types of things for we are going to use a for loop? What is the purpose of using for loop in Salesforce? So going through a list of item processing records, the basic and the most important use for a for loop is processing records in Salesforce or going through a list of items in programming for loop. So let's first see how for loop actually look like, and then we are going to show work on for loop. So if you want to write a for loop in Apex programming, first you need to write a for, and here comes your condition part, and after condition it's come your body of the loop. So these are the three things in which we are going to write our for loop. So first let's try to write a simple for loop which was going to print a number of 1 to 10 in this thing. The basic advantage of for loop that in this particular statement or here we write everything, means we write the increment, decrement part and the condition all in a single line. So sometimes it always faster than while loop, and it always saves a little bit memory in our part of programming language also. So for loop is a better approach of using loops compared to while. So you always need to use for loop. This is my point. If you want to use while loop, you can use while loop. There will be no any problem. But in my prospectus or in my view, we are. I'm just always using the for loop when I'm creating a big software or a big CRM software where I need to give some conditions or some particular statements where I need to iterate the list or records or any other thing using the loop. I'll always try to use the for loop. And if I want that some type of action will happen, if the part of the loop was satisfied or not, and whatever condition the loop was not executed, at that time I use the do while loop. So my body will execute at least one. So I'm personally preferred do while loop or for loop. Now let's say I'm going to print here a simple thing which is going to do or going to print a simple numbers from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. So what I'm going to do here, first I need to here initialize a variable which is integer 1, integer I equal to 0 because I want to treat from 1. So first you need to initialize your variable in the for loop. After this the second thing will come is the your condition part, what condition of this loop is going to handle. So the first thing is initialization. The second part is your condition, which is I is greater than 5, greater than or equal to 5. And the last part comes the increment part. So we need to do all of these things in a single place. And this is the part of loop which was done here. Now in the body section, we just need to print our simple statement which we want to appear on the screen. So right now here I'm going to print a simple debug statement which is the system.debug, and here we are going to print what? We are going to print two things. First I'm going to print numbers, and then I'm going to perform a concatenation operation using the plus operator, and then here we are going to print I. Now these two things for going to print, like first we are going to get number and then we are going to get I, and this is how this particular thing was going to work. So now let's put terminator here and start the execution part. Now when I click on execution, here we are getting an error on line 1, column 20, exception column. Okay, so in line 1 if you see we are going to get an error on column 20. Now sometime if you execute this part, you'll see here a message like column 20. Now column 20 is like the way of writing, like this is actually column 20. Let me just show you what is column 20 here. Actually here if we talk about in this section, if you talk about column 20 is like this sequence. This is the first, second, third, and this is how you are going to column 20. So we are going to get error on column 20 which will be like on this place, because here see this is initialization part. So here it needs a terminator, not a comma, because here we are actually initializing something. So here we need to put a terminator instead of comma, so this is going to work. Otherwise if you put like that, it is not going to work properly. So because everything is the condition here, because we are writing all these things inside, so we are not going to use comma, we are going to use a terminator. So integer I is equal to 0, terminator I is greater than or equal to 5, terminator, and I plus plus. So you are writing three statements for in a single line, so you need to use three terminators to terminate these lines. You are not going to put a terminator on the last, otherwise you are not going to work. It will think that after this may be a line, so it will produce an error. Now let's try to execute this time and see what we are going to get. Our program was executed successfully, and if we click on the debugger section this time, we are able to get our numbers, which will start from number 0, number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 5. Now here is a problem that number and 0 was printing together without a space. So I think if you remember correctly, we have two ways to do this. Either you can give a space here to do this thing, or you have one more option. After this, you perform one more categorization and you add a space between them. Then it was going. So I'm not going to do that part. I'm just going to simply make a space between these things just by giving a space on the debugger console. Okay, it was taking a little bit time. Okay, our code was executed successfully again. I think no, actually it was not work. Let me just click again. Okay, now the part was again executed successfully. Click on debugger section, and this time we are going to be able to see the numbers in a proper way, like number 0 to number 5. Now let's talk about some few other examples in for loop, and then we are going for the last example, which will be a little bit tough in for loop. See, actually for loop was not intentionally used for like these type of purpose for printing numbers and other things. The main use of for loop in programming is to add databases. Like if I'm showing you something, let me just show something else to you first. Okay, so now if you see my screen right now here, if I click on the file section here, and if I click on open resources, here I need to search for this. Here you can see there are different type of resources here are available. So here you can see some resources as the extension .obj, and these are actually databases. So this is an address database. So if I click on this and click on open, now here you can see we are going to get a list of items. So the real use of loops in Salesforce is to retrieve these items or put values inside these items. Like you have ID, we have is deleted name, create date, create by ID. So we actually use this loop to fill these data in a very fast way. So if you want to see something like if I want to see create data system or suppose, so you need to shift on control and shift and you need to click multiple. So create data. See, if you want to click multiple items, like see, if you want to click like multiple events, just click it. But if you want to click multiple things, you need to use your control, then shift button, and you need to click first ID. Right now I'm seeing ID, name, create date, create by ID, last modified date. And when you click on here, right now I'm just showing you this. Click on query. Here you see we will get a query for this. And now if we just execute this part on the downside of here we are able to see all of the data. Right now I'm executing not okay. So here we are going to get the ID of this thing. Right now this thing does not have any information because it does not have any row or data. So we are going to get the information. So we actually use for loop to insert these type of information in our database in a very fast way. So that's why we are actually using a for loop. We use different type of collection, like suppose you have a collection of a list or you have a collection of set or you have a collection of maps. You are going to use these collection to put those data inside the database like this. So first what you did, you created different types of collection which has user data, and then what you did, you use a for loop to insert those data inside the database. So this is where we are actually using the for loop in a programming, not for printing like 1 to 10 or any other thing. So now after this, let's try to come out code again. Let's try to remove these things because we don't actually need right now. When we are coming on the DML parts and SOQL part, we are going to talk about this in a more detailed way, that how we are going to write queries and different other things. Now here you can see we have right now printed the 5 numbers, but right now I'm going to print one more thing or one more condition. So this time I want to print or insert information in a map. So suppose you are working in a particular, you created a CRM software, we have a list. What you have two important things. So let's suppose you have two lists. Right now we are talking a real life problem which we actually do in Salesforce. So if you have a list which has some type of data like username or anything, and you have a set which has some type of data, suppose set which has some ID type of data. Now what you need to do, you need to insert this list and set data in a map. What you are going to do at that time. So you have like this. So you have a list and set and you want to insert this data in map. Now many of a question why we are going to do this thing. Why we are going to create a function or a method which was going to insert the data of a list set in a map. So see, suppose you want to insert data in a database at the time of database execution. What is the best thing? Either you just insert all the element of list and set and create different function for different list or set, or you created a map which was going to arrange the information in a key value pair or in the important things, and you transfer the list and set elements in the map, and then you use that map to transfer all the elements in the database. This process is easy and this process will be more convenient and make your code more reusable and readable, because by using this technique you are able to initialize the proper way of data like using the ID and the value. Like you can use a single ID for everything, and you also maintain the data precision and data privacy and data quality also. Now after this, let's try to first create a list and set, and then we are going to show you see how we are going to implement all the data of list and set inside the map. Now let's see how we are going to do this. For this, first of all, we need to create a list which was going to store some elements. So right now I'm going to create two things, a set and a list first. So let's try to create a set and a list. So first, here I'm going to create a set which was going to store strings, and name of this set is key set. And now what this key set is actually storing this time. So this key set is actually storing something. So here we need to create a set, we need to use a new keyword, new, then you need to write this thing set string. So you can implement this set here. And now here we need to insert the data. Now if you remember correctly, if you want to insert data, you need to use the curly braces. And if you don't, you now want to insert a data and you want to make a set empty, you need to use the normal brackets. But if you want to insert some data, you need to use the curly braces. So here we are actually storing some data. So we are going to use the curly braces this time. And we are actually storing string value, remember. So you need to pass the thing on a string. So right now I'm creating a string like A, then I have a new string B, then a new string, suppose C. So right now I'm just creating three strings A, B, and C. So now this set has three data A, B, and C, which was stored inside it. Now my set was actually done, and now here I need to create a list which has some data also. So let's just copy this line again, because I don't just copy this line. Here comes the next thing. I need to print this thing here. Instead of set, write list here. This will be a list type of data. This is list. It was also going to store string, and it is known as, instead of key set, it was named as key values. Everything will be going same. In the place of set, you need to again write new list. And here what we need to write, let me just make this thing correct a little bit. Okay, and here we are going to put some value, like I'm going to put apple, this will be banana, and the last will be a carrot. So now I've created two things. First is a list and the other is a string which is storing something. Let's try to execute the highlighted part to see that this program has any error or not. So if you click on the highlighted part, our code was executed successfully, means this part does not have any problem. Now let's try to create the new thing, an empty map which is going to store these two things. And now after this we are going to use a for loop to insert all the elements of this in a list. So before going to this, see, actually set is the unordered collection of data. So set actually don't store the data in a ordered collection. So now for retrieving all the element of set is a tough. So what we are going to do, we are going to convert this set in a list of elements. So you have two options. Either you can use the iterator, which will be a tough thing, and we are going to talk about iterator when we are discussing the database. So this will be a little bit complicated thing if I tell you right now. When you learn about the SOQL statement, at that time iterator will be more understanding. So right now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new list which was going to store the element of set and inside it. So we are actually transferring all the set elements in this list. So how we are going to do this? This is a simple, very simple thing. What we need to do, we need to create a simple list first. So first just simply type list. What it was going to store, it was going to obviously store a string values. And now here we need to name this list. So this set will be key value conversion. So this set name is key value conversion. Key value conversion set list was actually going to store the new list which has the element of the set. So we just need to initialize this thing and we need to make it empty right now. So how I'm going to do this? So new, and here we need to copy this line. So we are actually not going to transfer all the elements like here directly writing. We are going to use some methods to do this thing. So new list string, and we created a new list which is right now empty. Now our list was simply created and this list does not store right now anything. Now if you remember correctly, we are using some functions to put some data. So if you remember, we have two functions. We have a function named add, which was used for adding elements in a list. Now if you remember, we have one more function named add, one more function in the list section. If you study the documents in the apex section or in the list class, you remember we have a function named add-all. So if you use add-all function, you are able to add all elements of a set or a different list in a list. So we are going to first name this thing because we are inserting data in key conversion. So copy key conversion here, paste it, key conversion dot add all, and this add all function is actually going to add all elements of a particular set or a list inside this new list. Wait a second. Okay, add, I think this is wrong. Okay, so this is wrong, right? Now where it was going to get this element, it was going to get this element inside the set. So we need to specify where it was going to get. So here it needs a parameter like which is collection it was going to get. So here it was going to get from all these things inside this key set. So copy this key set here and transfer it here. Now this part is done, and now if I click on here, now the code is run. Now we have the first list, and now we make a simple program which was actually used for getting all the information or getting all the data from this key set inside this new list which is key value conversion. So now if I just execute this line to see does this work properly or not, let's see what happens. So let's execute the highlighted part again. Again this was smooth, we are not getting any errors, and now we come again on debugger parts. See, this is a very good practice. If you want your code does not make any error, write in the debugger section and execute the highlighted part. So if you have any problem at the starting, you will find your problem and you are not able to make that problem again. Now this part is here done. Now come the next part where we are going to create a map, and in this map we are going to use a for loop to insert all of these elements. So how we are going to do this? For doing this, first of all, you need to create a map in this program first. So creating a map is already simple. I think you already know. First you need to create map. Inside we need to pass two things. What type of data it was storing? So it was storing a string, comma, string. And now if you want, suppose those who are thinking why we are using string, you can also use an integer value like passing here 1 2 3, and you can do the same thing here to transfer the all elements in a list. So here in the place of string you use integer and pass all the elements in this new key value conversion list. And the second thing will be also string. So right now this map is storing two things. First is a string and the second is a string as a key value pair. Now our map was actually created, and now we just need to name our map, which will be new map. And after this we need to initialize this map, so we are able to use this map. And this map is, remember, is going to empty. because we are going to actually insert this element using a particular loop. So copy this line and paste it here. Okay, now this part is still this part, we have done everything. Now comes the next part which we are going to actually do. So here I'm just making this, so it was an empty map. Now my map was also created. Now comes the main part, and the main part is the loop or the body of the loop, that how we are actually going to insert all the data from these two lists to a new to a map. So here we need to first write the for loop. So for inside for, first we are going to write our code. Let me just make a little bit bigger this. Okay, so inside this for we need to write our condition, and the condition is the main part. So if you remember correctly, the first part is actually initialization part. So we are going to initialize a variable integer I is equal to 0, which was used for indexing. Remember why I'm using here integer I, because it was actually used from 0 and I was starting 0. Because remember, indexing will always start from 0, that's why I'm writing 0. If I write 1, it will just forget the first element in every section, like this A and apple, and it will start counting from B and C. Now I have created my first part, which is initialization. Now comes the next thing, which will be the list part, and this is actually the most important thing. So here I am writing I, and now what this I was going to do. So this is actually index. Now where this was going to do. So I is either greater than key list size. If you remember, I needed to be greater than size. So if you write this size here, the size will be 3. So I should be greater than or the size, means I should be 2, or I should be less than the size, less than the size. So 2 is less than, so it will going to till 2, means it was covering all the parts like 0, 1 and 2. So I need should be smaller than the size of this key set. And if you remember correctly, in which tells the size of a particular element, which will be the key list size in our particular list. So here we need to write the size. So here we have the first thing, key value, and we are just going to copy this. So control plus C. Wait a second. I think just print this line here. Let me remove this thing. Here, okay. I need to copy this line, and I is either greater than key value. So this part is first done. I is either greater than key value. Now after this, we need to come the next part. Now here this is not going to work because we don't specify the condition, method name, which will be dot size, which was going to give an integer value, which is actually a size. So now I is comparing to the size of the first key value pair. Now after this, let's come to the next thing, and here we are going to use the important part, which will be an AND operator, because right now we are comparing two things. So and why we are doing this? Because we are checking if the initialization part is done here. So now I is again going to compare that I is either smaller than what. Now this time we are going to check this key conversion value. Now this time we are checking this key conversion list. So I is either greater than control dot size. So now I is checking both things. It has created a two functions which was doing two things. First is checking the size of the first list, and second is checking the size of second list. Now this part is done and our condition is here done. Now this is the simplest thing here we are doing actually. Now those who don't understand this thing, let me clarify those things. What I did here, first I created an integer I which is 0, and then I'm comparing the values. First I'm comparing that I key value dot size is smaller than the size. So size is already 3 and I is already 0. So this is really good. The second time I'm doing the same thing and I'm checking the same thing. So it was going until I will become 3. When I become 3, this condition does not satisfy and our loop will end at this time. Yeah, I'm just going to put the now see, this is going to work if you put the increment part. If you don't put here the increment part, this is going to infinite recursion, because then I actually not converging, and every time I will be 0. So this part is continuously executing and we execute the CPU time limit exceed error, and we are not able to do anything. Now come here the next part of this code, and which will be the body. So right now here we need to write the body of the for loop, and this will come here. Now here inside this we need to write the body of our code. Now in this section comes the main part, because previous you see what we actually did in the body, we just simply print a system.debug, but here comes and we are writing an actual body of a for loop. So here we are going to do two things. In the map we are going to use two functions, two new functions. Now if you remember correctly, in map we have a function named dot put, which was used for putting elements inside a map. So here I need to write my map. Let me just, what is the name of my map? Okay, it will be in a new map. So new map dot put. Now if you remember, new map dot put is a function which take two arguments. The first argument is a key and the second argument is a value. So inside this thing we need to pass the statement or the element which was going to insert this new map. Conversion keep dot, okay, line 14. Okay, thank you for very much for telling me this problem. Okay. So now inside this new map, I need to pass some conditions here, which was going to work to put the new elements inside this. So first I have two things which I need to put inside this. First is the key list and the second is key value conversion. So just simply I'm going here and I'm going to write my first thing, which will be this key value, or I can say this thing, which will the key value conversion, because this part is actually my keys. So control C here, control V, and inside this we are using our I as an index. So we are actually using this key value conversion dot I as the index value to put the elements in according to an index. After this you just need to give a comma and you need to do the second thing also the same way. So comma, and this time we are actually putting the value inside it using this key value. So copy this line, paste it here, and here we are going to just pass I again. Now program was completed and this is the part here done. Now this part what actually was going to do. What is new map? New map is here the map which we just created. This is the new map actually, where we are actually storing the informations. New map is a map which we are actually doing. Let me just separate these lines. So if you see here, this is the new map, and this new map is actually storing the elements from this list and set actually, and that's why we are using here the new map dot put function. If you remember correctly, new map dot put was used for inserting elements inside a map, which has two parameters. The first will be a key and the second will be a value. Now this part is actually done here, and let's try to execute this and see what we are getting. Does we get any error or not? Okay, nothing is selected. I only want to execute from line 8 to, okay, just click on execute. See, our execution part is done, means our code has no any single errors. And if we click on the debugger section, we are actually right now not printing anything because we don't give a statement after this list or this particular for to print this information. So here what we are going to do, we are going to just simply print a method which was going to print all the elements of a system of the map. So system.debug here, let me just a simple thing, system.debug, and here just simply writing my map name, which will be this new map, which is actually storing these elements. So control C and system.debug here just paste it. So system.new map was going to print all the information. Before going to do, I'm going to print one more system.debug after every statement, so we are able to see the information. So system.debug, and here it was going to print this list actually. So key set. After this list, I'm also going to print a system.debug, and it was going to print this key value. Now come to the last thing, and after this we are actually going to print also this information to see how this works. So system.debug, and it was going to print our particular this new list, which is key value conversion after adding all the elements here. Now let's try to put here a column, and in the last we are actually printing the map also. See how what actually this map was right now. System.debug, and here we are actually printing this new map. Okay, now our code was actually done here, and let's try to execute this time, because this time we are going to see multiple results. Now let me just make these things out of this code so we don't able to see this. Now let's give some values also here, some strings, so we are able to see this thing. And here we are performing catenation to set which is stored elements. I'm just giving a message also which is stored key. After this, in this list which is store value, and after this comes the next part. In this tag we have two, and this is the key value conversion. Here we also need to pass a message to show our code more correct. You can say the conversion of set into list. Okay, now after this will be the new map, and here we are passing again a statement. Just give me a second. New map, and this will say the new map, the map which was holding data. Okay, and in the last we are going to print this final output, and here we are just giving a simple message, final output. And let me just give a space here, so nothing is going to be work like this. Okay, now let's try to execute this program and see what we are getting. So now if we click on execution, our code was executed successfully. And now if we click on the debugger section, here we are going to get different things. First set which is store key ABC, then we get a list which is store value this, then we have the conversion of set into list, and here we see our information. And here we see the map which was going to hold data, and right now it was empty. And here in the last section we are going to get our final output, which was storing this information: A is equal to apple, B is equal to banana, and C is equal to carrot. So what we did, we actually managed to complete these tasks. Means we created two different data types or two different collections, and we put all the elements of these collections inside a new map using the for loop using a key value pair. So this is a very good example, and this function was going to use multiple times when you are creating big software. So let me just send this code to all of you. Okay. How many of you are able to understand this, and how many of are you are not able to understand? Does anyone have any doubt till this point? So if you don't understand anything, does anyone have any argument? But I'm about very statement. So does anyone have any question? If you guys have any question, ask. So I think I'm getting some questions in the chat box. So does anyone? Okay, I think no of you will have any error. Okay, so I think no. Okay, so I think no one of you have any problem till this point. So now we are going to see the next program, which will be the break and continue statement and the control. Now, break and continue statement was actually see. I think we already see the break statement and continue statement in the previous class also. So right now here we are going to see the both things again here. The first we are going to see the break, and then we are going to see continue, and then we are going to see together break and continue. So first I'm going to use the break statement in a for loop to show you how this break actually works. So the break statement is basically used for breaking the regular flow of a loop. So suppose I want to print a number from using a for loop for a number from 1 to 10 from for I for integer I equal to 0 and I is greater than or equal to 10 parameter I plus plus. So suppose I want to print a number from 1 to 10 in this program where this is good and it was going to simply print the number from 1 to 10. Now what happened if I want to break the flow of this program to not do this like this? So instead of printing all these numbers, I want to break the flow of this program and I want to only print till number 7 or till number 5. So what I'm going to do, at this time I have a very good function in the for loop which we use mainly, which is break statement. Now after this break statement, what was going to happen? First it was going to check the system.debug and then it was going to do the next thing. So here what we need to do, we need to write the break condition which will be going to exit. But here comes the new part. Break is actually not going to work directly. If you want to use the break, you need to use the if block also. So here we need to write a if block inside this for loop. So if, and here we need to pass the condition first. So if I equal to, and you need to pass on which particular time you want to break this condition. So if I equal to 7, you need to give the condition here break, and this is going to work. Now what we just simply did, we just say using a equal to operator to compare two values, that if I is equal to 7, then what was going to happen, it was going to come inside this particular code which will be break and it will break the loop and it will outside. So now if this time we execute this program, everything was going to work seamlessly, but we are only able to print till number 7. Now after this we have a one more statement which will be continue. Let me first give this code to all of you in the chat box, and then we are going to see the continue statement. Am I audible to all of you? Can I get a quick confirmation? Is everyone able to hear me right now? Okay. So now we are going to see the continue statement, how we are going to use the continue statement. Now continue is not very good, and I mean sorry, continue is used for skip the rest of current iteration and goes to the next one. So how we are going to use the break and continue thing? Suppose continue is actually used for skip a particular iteration, where break was used for is breaking the loop. So right now suppose if this program is working fine, but here comes the next thing. Now I want to actually only skip 7 and I want to then go to the 9 10. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to here if I equal to 7, this time instead of break, what I'm going to use, I'm going to use continue. Now if I use here if I is equal to 3 continue. Now this time what was going to happen? Nothing. It was only going to start the work, and when comes 3, it was not going to print 3 and then it will continue the program. And now what was I'm going to do? I'm going to write a new if which was going to block this particular statement. But before, just see how this thing works. So now if I click on the execution part, now this program was actually going to print the number till 10, but it will skip. Okay, here we are actually not skipping this thing. Let me just see this. I think I make a mistake in this program. Let me just see once more. Okay, I think I make a skip at this point. Let me just see what is the problem I'm making here. If I equal to 7, continue. Let me just give me a second. Okay, so the problem is here. Let me just rewrite this thing actually. For body actually it was done. Okay, this is was okay. So this is the problem. Now I think the problem will be solved, and now you are able to see the result. Are you able to see the result right now? So this time you see what we did. We just simply skipping the seventh part, and we are actually printing all the elements together. Are you able to see this guy right now? Okay, so right now this was working properly, and the problem is actually solved. Does anyone have question in this part? Now this is working properly. Your if and continue statement here. Does anyone have any problem? Anyone have any problem in this particular code? Okay, so let me just send you the program for this line, and now this is done. So I am using this thing. So let me send the code for this thing particular. Uh, okay, so this part is done, and now let me just send to the code, and then we are going to the next part here. Are you able to see this? Is my screen visible right now? Can anyone tell me?
Just now it is not visible, sir.
Okay, sorry, ma'am. Just give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Wait a second. Let me just share it again. Okay, right now I think it was visible to all of you. And see here what we are doing, I is equal to greater than 3, and let's just change this number to something like 5, where it was going to first check if I is equal to 5, and it was going to skip this part or continue or skip this 5. After this, here what we did, if I equal to 7, it was going to break this loop at 7, and we just simply print the I. Now if we execute this part this time here, our code was executed seamlessly, and if we click on the debugger section again, we are able to skip the part 5 after this, and we come to 6. And we are also not able to print 7 because we just give in the execution part that after 7 it was going to break. So this is what actually going to happen in this code. So let me share this code to all of you. Try this and see how this works. So now we cover all the parts till this section of the break and continue statement. Now comes the next part in Apex programming language, and it will be the main important part. So first let's see what we discussed till this part, and then we are going to study the next part. So till this part we cover the Apex basics, we cover the Apex basics fundamentals, then we cover the control flows of a program, and now comes the new part of the programming language, and which is our oops concept. Because in every programming language, oops is very important. Not in every, some programming. What is the difference between breaks? See, breaks actually, if you see the code here, the code, if you see, okay, I just don't send it actually. Okay, so if you see this code, actually break is used to break that particular flow of program and makes your loop to exit, where continue is used to skip a particular iteration in this program. So if you use continue and specify, for example, in your particular loop you want to skip a iteration like on a particular line or a particular index, you can use continue to skip that particular iteration, or you can give like other notations like greater than or equal to, or smaller than equal to, or equal to. So you can skip that particular part and continue the flow of program. So if you are printing from 1 to 10 and you use continue equal to 5, then you only skip the part 5 and you are able to go through 5. But if you are using other, for example like break, then break is simply going to break the statement. nothing more. Now here comes the next thing, which will be OOPS in Apex programming language. Now let's talk about first OOPS and what is actually the meaning of OOPS. So basically OOPS is object oriented programming and Apex programming language, and I think all of you have been familiar with OOPS programming language. Those who have studied Java, C++, Python are also known about OOPS. Now, OOPS is a very useful concept in programming language. Now, what is the basic advantage of OOPS or traditional programming language? If we talk now, why we also study OOPS? What is the actually use of OOPS if we have a traditional approach? So, OOPS, first we are going to see the importance of OOPS, and then we are going to compare OOPS with the basic, or you can say the traditional approach. Now, importance of OOPS if you're talking in Apex programming language or in other programming language. First, OOPS programming structure, reschedule, and scalable. So OOPS give you three things. First, give a structured way, a reusable code, and scalable. Suppose you created a function and you want to use multiple times, you can use. You have a good structure of a program. So you have three things. First is the structure, then is the usable code multiple times. And the last thing you have in OOPS programming language is reusable or scalable, you can say. Your code was more scalable and more developable or more understandable than others. Now, these three are the basic or main function of OOPS. Now, in Apex, we have three things. We have four things which we need to learn in OOPS. First come encapsulation, then we have abstraction. After this, we have inheritance and polymorphism. So we are going to study four things in OOPS programming in Apex programming. So first comes our first part, which is encapsulation. Now, what is the meaning of actually encapsulation in OOPS programming language? So just going to cover a very small and a quick introduction about all this. So encapsulation means keep data safe and hidden from outside. Like you can encapsulate a data which was not seen by the other programmers. Like for example, in a TV, you actually see the screen, you actually see everything shows, but you actually don't know what was inside the TV. So it was actually encapsulated. So we use encapsulation in programming to hide the data to make the privacy of the data. So this is the first concept or first you can say advantage in Epic OOPS gives to the normal approach or then traditional approach, which was data hidden or data privacy. After this, the next thing we have is abstraction. Now, what is actually abstraction? See, the difference there was a very sometimes it was complicated and sometimes they don't understand the difference between abstraction and encapsulation. So abstraction means simplify usage and reduce complexity. So in simple term, you can say it will simplify the usage and reduce the complexity of the code. Or if we talk about the meaning of the abstraction, it will like hidden internal complexity, exposing only necessary part. Remember, encapsulation means hiding data from outside, so they people are not going to use or misuse the data. Where abstraction means hiding internal complexity, exposing only necessary part. So we are hiding the main or contract, or you can say the most complex functions, and we only show the internal thing or the necessary thing to the user. After this, we have two more things. First is inheritance, and then we have one more thing, which is polymorphism. Now, inheritance and polymorphism is easy to understand. Inheritance means like inheriting the property of your parents, or you can say the property of one thing to another thing. Like you inherit your father's property or father's will. The same way, inheritance was used in programming language to inherit the properties of a class or a function to a new class or a function. Now, after inheritance, we have the next thing, which is polymorphism. And polymorphism is same, like same name but different function. Like you created, for example, in math, you created a calculator. Suppose you are going to create a calculator. Now a calculator had different things. Suppose you created a calculator with a function. Now you created three function with the same name add. Now the first function is going to take two parameters, the second is going to take three parameters, and the fourth is going to take four parameters. So polymorphism means same name but different task. So you created a simple function but four different parts. So first is going to take only two, third is going to take three, fourth is going to take four parameters, and fifth is going to take five parameters. And this is how polymorphism is actually simply works. In the simplest example, if I give you, polymorphism means same name with different functionality. Like your father is on the same time, he will be a husband, he will be a father, he will be a son, he will be someone uncle, will be someone colleague. So he has a single personal or a single personality or single individual, but serving different roles according to the use. So this is what polymorphism means. So these are the four concepts which we need to study in Apex programming language in OPS. Now let's just start with how we are going to route our Apex classes. Now in OOPS we have two more things. First is class and one more thing is object. Now what is class and what is object? So are the most important thing in Apex. Now class and object is a little bit sometimes found a little bit tough. So let me give you a simple example. Class is you can say a virtual entity. If I tell you in the simplest example, class is actually a virtual entity where object is a real entity. Like cars. I have a question to all of you. Now, how many of you see the cars? Can anyone tell me? How many of you see cars? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Only one person see the car, and I think none other than see the car. Okay. Those who see the cars can tell me. Actually, you don't see cars. You see Honda or like different car companies like Kia or other companies. You actually don't see the car. So car is a virtual entity which was, you can say, a class. And in this class we have objects. So car is actually a virtual entity. You actually don't see car. What you actually see, you see different types of cars. Like you see Kia, you see Mahindra's cars, you see BMW or Audi and any other car. So you are actually seeing these things, not car. So in simple term, if I tell you, classes are the collections of objects. So a class is a collection of objects with similar properties. So car is a basic, you can say, a class which has properties some like a car can run, it has some four wheels like properties. So a class is a collection of similar objects. So a object, if you have putting an object inside a class, then the object need to follow all the properties of this class. So this is the basic or simple things or definition of a class. Remember, a class is a virtual entity which actually don't exist, where an object is a real life entity which exists, and if an object was in class, then he needed to follow the properties of the class. Like what is the properties of the class? So if it was a class of a cars, then he needed to follow the properties of the car class. It means all the object needed to follow these things. So this is the simplest example we are going to put here. Like if it was a fruit class you were touring, in fruit class you are not going to put a vegetable thing, because the vegetable is not going to follow the property of a fruit. This is the simplest example of class and object. Now, after this, let's come to the next part or the main part of the programming language, like how you are going to actually write your particular classes in Apex programming language. So this is not a very tough example. This is one of the very simple things that how we are going to actually write. So if you want to write your class, let me just share my entire screen so it will be easy for you. Okay, right now I think my whole screen was visible to all of you. So now if you want to print or if you want to create a class, how you are going to do it? So creating a class, you have two ways. First, either you go on this file section and create on this new and you will find this Apex class. How you are going to do? You are already in your debugger sections. What you need to do, you need to click on this files and you need to click on this new icon and you see here Apex class. When you click on this Apex class, you are able to create a new class. And here you need to write the name of the class. Now, remember, whatever you are going to write here the name of the class, remember, there are some rules to write the name. We are going to talk about later, but it was always preferred that you need to start the first letter with capital and the other letters will be small. So class, and then if the class has two parts, like my class has two parts, class name, I'm going to write like this, class underscore name. And when you click on this OK, it will start creating a new class for you like this, and it was created. Right now, see, this is the first way of creating a class. Now let's see how you are going to create another way. So now if I just close this section, let me just close this section. Now the next way of creating a class for me is to create this class directly from the Salesforce org, not from the developer console. So if I come here again and search for Salesforce, let me search again. So if I open Salesforce again here this time, now I have one more way to create the class this time. Now you need to know how many ways of creating a class will be found for you. So if you click on this section, and if you click on this setup icon this time, when you click on this setup, actually you open a new tab of setup, which was just right now here loading. Okay, actually I think you're not guys able to see. Okay, so here you can see when you click on setup, you will open a icon like this, where on the right side you see setup, and this does look like this. So it was taking a while to load. Just give me a second, and now your setup was going to look like that. So you're also able to create your classes from here. So if you search on this quick find class, what do you need to search? You need to search class here. So if you search here class like CLASS, now here you find Apex classes in this section also. And you are also able to use that things to create classes. So here you can see here we get a custom code option, and inside this you see we get an option of Apex classes. Now if you click on this Apex classes, you are able to see some message here, and here you see you will open an Apex class like this icon, and here you are able to see all of your classes which you created. So here I created multiple classes for me, which was my actually work. Now how you are going to create a class now? So if you want to create a class here you can see you have option say new, and you need to click on this new icon to create a class. Now when you click on new, here you are able to create a new class from this section. Now, but this time you remember when you are making a class in the developer section, you actually don't need to write this main part of creating class. You just simply click on files and new and Apex class, and here if you write the name like class, big class, you just click here on enter, and you are able to open this class without writing these things. But if you're creating this class in this section, you need to write all these things here. So let's suppose I want to create a simple class like how what you're going to put here. So let me just copy this copy code here and just come here on the Apex Salesforce, and here I'm going to paste these things. Let me just write here. Now in the place of big class, I'm just going to name it, change this thing like my new class 123. So this will be my new class 123. And when here you see you have two options, save and request. So suppose you make some errors in this program. Suppose I don't put this thing and try to click on this quick save icon. Here you see it will give me an error on this time. So whatever you write in this particular section also, and if you made any error, you're going to get the information of this thing, the particular here. And here you're also able to write your whole program in the same way. Now, after making the right thing, if you click again on quick save, it was able to save your class here. And remember, what name of the class was going to here, you need to write this name here. So you are actually create a class on new, but you don't actually specify. Now, if you click on save, everything was going to work on the same section and your class was created. And now here you can see we get the information name my new class, name prefix, we don't have any prefix like a space after underscore created by Aditya, and here we get the information. Now if you want to click on edit, you have edit, delete, download and security and so dependency. So you have these options which we are going to study very much after. So here you have two options, either you click on edit, so you are able to edit this thing, and if you click on delete, you are able to delete this class very easily. Now this is the two way of creating class in Apex. The best way for you creating a class is always try to create a class from developer console, because it was a little bit easier and little bit smaller to work with it and compatible. Now here we come the third way. Suppose you want to create a class in your particular Visual Studio Code. So how you are going to do this? For this, search for VS Code on your particular laptop and open it. Now when you open your VS Code, here you need to create your class inside the VS Code. And now how you are going to create the classes in VS Code? So suppose, first of all, what you need to do? First of all, the first thing you're going to do is to authorize your VS Code. Whenever you open your VS Code, I think everyone remember, whenever you open your VS Code, you need to authorize your VS Code through the Salesforce Development org. Then you are able to do these things. If you don't authorize it, you are not able to do this. So you need to click on the command palette first. Let me just click it. Okay, it was taking a while. Let me just click again, command palette. And now when I click on this command palette, just give me a second. Okay, so now when I click on this command palette, here I will get the option SFDX authorize. Now you need to click on that authorize button to authorize your VS Code to the Salesforce org, so it will work properly. So right now just let me remove this. It was not authorized. Don't save. Okay, so let's come here. Again go to command palettes. And here we need to click on SFDX authorize and org. Now when I click on this, it will start authorizing me on the Salesforce org platform. So right now it was taking a little bit time. Just wait and see how much time it was going to take. I think it was going to take a little much more time. Let me just see. Okay, command palette, authorize an org. Let me just click a create project. Okay, it was taking a little bit more time than expected. Again, go here. SFDX authorize an org. So it was actually taking a little bit time, guys. Due to some network problems, it was actually happening. Let me just try to close this VS Code again and try to start it again. So let me just close this tab here and let me just refresh the actually. Come again on the VS Code again. Actually, due to some network issue, this was happening. Let me open VS Code again this time. Okay. Right now, my Visual Store code again is opening. So first thing we need to click is authorize the VS Code to the Salesforce. You need to click on this manage icon, open your command palette here and you need to click on authorize project. So right now we are not able to see the authorized project. So first I need to click on create project. Okay. See, sometimes you are not able to see the authorized thing. So it was actually taking some time, a little bit time. So here we are actually not getting an output. So let me just see this. It was actually not working right now due to some network issue. Okay, let me do this again. SFDX create project. Okay, it was actually not working properly. See, after authorization, I think when your authorization was done, actually, wait a second, I think there will be. Okay, no, this will be not. See, after initializing, actually, right now it was not working in my case. So when you are done with authorization, what you need to do, you need to click on this section. You will see this type of option, ORG browser. You need to click on this ORG browser, and when you open this ORG browser, here you need to search for Apex classes. When you search for Apex classes, you will get the option here to download that particular thing. And you need to download that thing to run or initialize all the classes from your particular sales. Okay, so it was done standard. Okay, right now it was working. Let me just show you. It's taking time. Yeah, it's so actually taking time. Okay, here I need to write a name. So just name it like name and click on here enter name. Okay, this part is done. It was taking a little bit time. Okay, I need to choose a folder. Let me just choose a new folder. New folder. Let me just choose this demo projects. Okay, and click on create project. Okay, now I just click on create project. Okay. Now it was done. Now Salesforce CLI integration was started. Let's see how much time it was going to take. See, actually it was on a cloud base, so sometime it will take more time than expected. Now I need to click on this section again on the command palette, and then I need to verify and reauthorize. So just taking a little bit more time. So click on command palette again And here we just give a second. Okay, now this thing is done. Command palette again. Okay, so here we need to search for sfdx authorizes org, sfdx authorize. What we will have to see, if you open your particular what I'm saying command palette this time, first time, you need to click on the command palette, and when you click on command palette, see, either you'll get two options, either you'll get sfdx authorizes org, or you'll get this option create project. Sometimes you are not able to get the authorizes org because it was not working properly. So right now here you can see I'm getting just authorized org, it will come in suggestion. Yeah, it will come in suggestion, but sometime it will not come due to network issues and other thing. Right now here you can see my authorization will come, and you need to click on here. How? First of all, you need to click on this manage update console. Here you need to click on command palette, and if you want to open this, you directly search for Control Shift and then P, and you are able to open command palette. You need to click on this, and in this section you will find your sfdx authorized org. If you don't found, search for sfdx authorized org, and here you need to click on this. When you found this thing, you need to click on the production URL. If you remember correctly, click on production, and here you need to write the temporary name which was going to work for. So just name is like demo, and click on enter. After this, it will start authorization of the Salesforce CLI to the Salesforce actually, and here we are getting started, and it was going to take a little bit time to authorize us on the Salesforce platform. So right now it was working. Let's just wait for a single minute, and the authorization was then done, and then we are able to work for this. Let me just give a second. After opening command palette, you need to search for Salesforce authorized as EORG. So you are able to connect your Salesforce with the particular VS Code. Okay, the Salesforce CLI is actually working. It was taking a little bit much time than expected. Just wait for a single minute, and then I'm trying to do it again. Okay, let me just try to cancel it and start it again. Yeah, that's what was happening. I'll just cancel it. I'm going to start it again actually. Command palette again. Click again on SFX authorize. Project URL production. And this time I'm using project default. Let's see how much time it was going to take this time. So the first thing is field. Now let's take a little bit time than expected. I'm just waiting here. See, after your Salesforce, this particular task is done. What you need to do, you need to come here on this org browser. When you click on this org browser, you will find this thing here. In this org browser, you need to search for something, the metadata which you are going to. So here you see you are getting no default org page. But if you just log in successfully, you are going to get a org browser. And in this browser, you search for class. Now, this part is actually serious. Not working properly. You need to come on your course again, and where you are going to write your particular class. For this, click on this course tab, and when you click on this course tab, find this here class. When you click on class here you are able to write class. So right. Just give me a second, guys. Am I audible to all of you? Can I get a quick confirmation from you guys? Right now, is my voice clear to all of you? Okay. So as you see here, right now I'm able to authorize my Salesforce. So when you are done with also authorization of your Salesforce org, you need to click on here on logging section and you are able to authorize your Salesforce. Now this time you see I'm just simply authorizing my Salesforce on here, and when I click on logging, it was taking a little bit time, and just it was done. Okay, now my Salesforce authorization part was done here, and here we are get auth error. Okay, we are getting an error. We need to start it again. Let me just cancel this thing and try to reauthorize it again. Again, going on command palette. Sometime it will take a little bit time because it was actually a cloud based operating cloud based compiler, or you can say CRM software. So we are getting sometime a little bit more time than expected. So click on against SFDX authorize production. Just name it same. And now this part is done. Cancel this thing. So our SFDX was start again. Let's see this time it was going to work or not. So see, when you are done with authorization, what you need to do, you see here you will see find on classes where you're going to find this thing. When authorization part done, you need to click on this force F, and inside this force F you will find here classes. When you click on this classes, inside this classes you need to create your class for Apex. So create a new file and you are able to create your classes whatever you want to create here. And then you are going to execute all of your classes from this section. Now inside this section, you're actually going to give your classes name. So here you need to click on new file to create the new classes this time. So when you click on new file, you're able to create a new class like the name of the class like hello. And after this comes the main part. Now after this comes here the next thing, which will be what is the name of the class. So if you come on this section and if I show you something here, like if I open Salesforce here, let me just open. Now, what will be the extension of the class actually? Now, if you remember, if you want to write any Apex program, you need to write Apex. But what should be the extension of a Salesforce class? It should be class or it should be Apex. So see, if you are creating a class in Salesforce org, what we need to do, we need to write the proper extension of that class. So this thing will properly work. So if you see on this files, if you click on this files again, and if you click on new, and if you click on Apex classes, wait a second, actually I don't want to create a class. Okay, so if you click on this files again, and if you click on open here, open, wait a second, actually I need to click on open something else. Okay, if I click on open, so if I click on open here, here you can see we have different things on this sections. Now here if you see, if I come on classes, here I have different classes name. And now what will the extension of this class? So the extension of this class will be always Apex. You are not going to write class and any other thing, because if you write that information, it was going to give you the wrong information. Now if you again want to recheck, you click on the setup icon again. And when you open the setup icon, let me just open this again. And if you search for here classes again, class, and if you open the class section this time here, Apex classes, okay, it was taking a little bit time more. Okay, so if you open the Apex classes, here you can see the extension of the classes C. Here you will still not able to see the extension of the class. But if you click on the edit section, here you will see this particular class name, which will be the class name right now. And here still we are not able to see the proper information. So remember, if you want to save your classes, you need to save through Apex, like class name of your particular class, and then you need to write Apex. And it was saved on here on this icon. Now, actually, the main part come here that you need to authorize first, then you are going to do this. If you don't authorize, this will not going to work. So here you just simply need to write your name, whatever is right, my class dot apex, and it will be created your class. Now here you can see we created our class here, and here we need to write our class this time. Now this is the part here we are going to do this time. But the problem is here it was actually not authorized, and that's why we are not able to see the things happening here. So you need to authorize it first, then you are going to work it, and then it was going to work fine. Let me just open one more file, and then maybe this time it will work. Open new folder. Let me just open a folder, new volume 2. I think I have a final project. Okay, Salesforce here. Okay. So this is actually the way I think in this section I'm able to reauthorize this thing properly. Okay. So classes. So see, you have two ways to create a class. Either you can write the name on the class, or here you can create, or you can just simply click on the command palette here, on the command palette. And what you're going to do here, you're going to just search for create apex class. So you have two ways. Either you can come on this class and do this, or you can just simply create apex class. And here you need to write the name of the class. So right now I'm naming like my class, and if I click here on enter, it will ask for where you want to store this. So remember, this location was by default, you don't need to change this. And when you click on enter, you create your new class here. So this is how you are going to create a new class. So whenever you want to create a new class in Apex, after authorization, remember this part is done after authorization. So what was the first part? You need to click on command palette, click on SFDX authorize and org, click on this project default, or you can production URL, anyone, and then just click simply enter, and here your Salesforce CLI will start. It will take some time, a little bit more time, and sometime it will done in a very fast way. But after the part was done, what you need to do, authorization, you need to again click on this thing on command palette, and here on the top you need to search for create class, and you will find this option SFDX create apex class. And when you click on this, first of all you need to write your class name and whatever you want to do. So create your class name like name, and then if the class has some prefix, you need to give a underscore and the prefix name class, and after this you need to click on enter. Remember, when you get a location where this class was going to save, so you don't need to remove or change this location, make this location save and click on enter, and you are able to create a new class here. Now after this, see, when the class was done, you are able to execute this thing. But now what happened if you're not? So if you're not able to do this thing, you need to click on this Apex org or this browser. And when you open this browser, you will see a search option here when this particular thing was done. And in this section, you need to search for classes. You will find here classes. And here on the right side, you will find the option deploy code. Like the same way you found the option on the deploy code on the same time on the scripts also. So you need to click on the deploy code, or you can just simply click on this right click on here, on this right click, and here you find this deploy code. Deploy this source to org, and you are able to deploy your class on the Salesforce platform. So this is how you are going to work with classes on the Apex, on VS Code, on the same way. So for creating class, you just simply need to search on this icon, on the command palette, create Apex class, and you are able to create the class. So you need to do two things. First, I'm getting these options. Let me just see what you are getting. Just go this tab actually. Okay, so what you are getting? Can you show me? Let me just see your code. Okay, see. If you search here, you can see different things. If you just go a little bit, scroll down here, you can see Apex classes. Just search for Apex classes in this particular thing. And it was used for actually getting all your classes which was written inside your particular Apex Studio. So you are not going to actually use, we are going to use this particular option to deploy our code. Now for creating your class, you just simply need to write Apex and then the class name. Now let's come to our main thing, main program here, how we are going to create a class and how we are going to execute this thing. Just give me a second, guys. Okay, so now we are going to actually create our new thing, and which will be the class. So let me just come on the developer console, and then we are going to create a class and see what is the things we need to create actually a class. So let me just open this thing here, click on developer console, open link in new tab, and let's come here. Let me just share this tab instead. Okay, so right now we are in our developer console, and let's try to create a new class and see what is the information we need in this class. So stop sharing. So here I need to click on the debugger. Let me just clear all these things from here first. Okay. So now I need to click on the debugger section and sorry, I'm on debugger. So first of all, I need to click on this file option and click on new and then apex class. And here I need to write my name of the class, which will be the anything. So right now I'm starting with my first class. So here I'm name it demo underscore first class demo first class, and my class was created. Now when I click on this, here you can see we will get these information. So what is this thing? The first thing you will see here, I think someone has some question. Okay, so here we are getting three things. First, we are getting an access modifier, which was going to tell the class what is the type of this class. If this class is a public class, or this class was a private class, or what is the property of this class. So first thing you'll see is the access modifier. After this, the second thing you are seeing is the keyword, the class keyword, which was a special keyword which was used for creating a class. After this thing, you see you have information or name, the name of the class, and this was actually the name. So you need three things to create a simple class. The first will be, remember, it will be your basic public class or demo first class. After this, you need to write the name of the class, and inside comes your body of the class. Now here comes the body of this class, and inside the body, you are going to write your particular programs. Now, if we can't talk about modifiers in classes, we have three modifiers in Apex class. The three modifiers is basically your public, private, and protected or global. So in Apex programming language, we have four modifiers. Just give me a second. The first is public. The first or the most secure is private. Then we have protected. Then we have a public, and then we have a global class. See, public and global are same, but global is more available to every other classes than public. So we have these classes of access modifier here. Now the second thing come here class. See, sometimes we use some different types of also keywords in the class creation. Like we created a type of class. Like this time this class is a basic class which was going to access this class by the objects. But if we use some keywords like static in this class, then at that time we just simply access this class only by using you can say a basic or a simple class name. We just don't need to create its access modifier, and we just simply able to open this class. So let's see how we are going to write these programs in our particular thing. So first of all, let's see our particular code, and then we are going to write our program. So let me just open. So first I'm going to create a basic class which was going to work, and then I'm going to write a method which was going to work. So let me just open this. Just give me a second, guys. Okay. So first of all, let's create a simple, we have already created a class, and now here I'm going to pass or create a method. So in this class, I'm going to create a method which was going to print hello world. So how I'm going to print hello world this time? So printing hello world, for this we need to create a string here this time. So let's create a simple string here. So here coming a string, and then we need to pass what was going to store inside this string. So this string was going to store hello world. So writing hello, and here we need to write word. Now this part is actually done here, hello world. After writing hello world, what we need to do next, we need to write a basic function which was going to print this. So here I'm going to write a basic function this time. So right now I need to write a basic function. So now what will be my function and how we are going to write a function? Remember, when you are writing a class, you need to create functions in the class which will be your, say, the properties. Like if you remember in the starting what I say, that car is a class, and if some objects was inside this, means it needed to follow the property, and properties is actually the function. So here we need to create some functions in this class which we are going to access. So I'm just going to create a basic function, and let's talk about this. So how we are going to create a function? So the first thing is a access modifier. Like, what is the access modifier of this function? So this access modifier, or you can say, is public. Means we are going to create an object for this class, and then we are going to use this. So the access modifier of this class is public. Now the second part is come. What is the return type? See, a function has many things. Like, what is the return type of a function? So if your function is returning something, then you need to specify the data type. Like, if you remember, in we when we are studying the sets and list, we have some functions which are returning boolean values and some functions which are returning integer value. So we need to specify what type of return this particular function was going to give us. So now I'm just going to print giving a simple hello world. So it was actually not printing or not returning anything. So when a function does not return anything, you need to specify void, means public void. First is your access modifier, second thing is void. Now public void makes your particular function does not return anything. After this, the second thing you need to specify here is the function name. So just name a function name like function 1. So right now I make a function which is now named as function 1. Now after this, the next part is come the body of this function. So how you are going to write the body of the question? You need to open this parenthesis, and inside this you need to write the body of your particular function. Now in this function body, I'm just going to print a simple debugger message which was going to print hello. So right now here you can see, actually, okay, wait a second, here, string new one. So I created a string new one which was going to store this thing. So right now I'm going to print here a simple debugger statement which will be going to print this string. So system.debug, and here what we are going to print, we are going to print this new one actually. So new one, and our function was done here. So what we did, we just simply created a class, demo first class. Inside this we created a string new one which was storing information hello world, and then after we have a method public void function. After this, what we have system.debug new one, which was a function public void system.debug, which was actually printing this information. And we just created our class, and the class was ended here. Now the time is come for execution of this class. So how this class was actually going to execute? So for executing this class, we have a very simple way. First of all, you need to save this class. For this, you need to click on file and you need to click on this save. Now when you click on this, here you see option saving demo first apex class. When it was done, the saving option goes and your file was saved. Now when the class was saved, you're not going to execute this class directly. What you need to do, you need to click on this debugger section and you click on the open execute environment tab. And now here we are going to actually execute this class. So first of all, see, right now we have a class. Now those who studies class in Java, you remember that if you want to execute a class, you need to create the instance of the class. So first of all, we need to create an instance of this class. So how we are going to create the instance of this class? For creating an instance of this class, first of all, we need to write the name of the class, which will be the demo first class. First, you need to write the class name, which will be the demo first class name. After this comes the next part. The next part is we are going to name the instance or the object of this class. So right now this is demo first class, and here we need to write the object of this class, or the, you can say, the instance, what it was going to do be. So right now I'm just going to name it anything, like any name, just give new or like use one. So first the class name, then you need to write a space and then the thing. So use one, and then you need to give equal to, and you are going to use new keyword to initialize the class here. So new, and after this you need to again specify the class name, so it will create the class instance. So demo first class, copy this time here and put it here. The same way you are creating instance for the particular list or set when you are creating. So here what we created, we just created an instance for this demo first class. So in the first line, first you are going to write the class name, then the instance name or the object name, which was going to have the instance, which will be use one, and then this new keyword to create the instance of this class. Now after this, we are going to calling the function which we created in our class, which will be this function. This is function 1. So how we are going to call this function? So we are going to call this function using this use1 instance. So you need to copy this use1 instance, Control+V, dot, and then the function name, which will be the function 1. We just copy this line here, paste it there, and now this function use.1 and dot function name. Now after this comes the next thing is the parameter. So here see, right now our function does not accept any parameter. So you just write now use.1 function and this parenthesis. So it was done. Now if we click on execute this part, here we are going to getting an error like on line 2 column method does not exist. Okay, so we are going to get this error. Function 1, actually it was saying it was not executed. Let me just see here. I think this particular function is not, wait a second. Demo first. Okay, so the problem is here the class name actually. So we created. Okay, so here we have some problems on this class. Like if you see on this time, here we have some problems in this class. Like what are the problems? Here you can see. We are getting problem on 4th and 6th line also, because here we get this message or this termination line that we have a problem on 4th and 6th line also. Now let's try to see what are the problems we are right now facing here. So here you see the problems is basically on line 4, unexpected token system.debug. Okay. So on line 4 we are getting information that system.debug is the unexpected token, and then on 4 line we are getting one more token, this problem. On 6th we get extra this. Okay. Okay, so we are going to get some error here. Now when you click on this problem section, you are able to see all of your problem, and due to some problems we actually not able to create this class. Let me just open the debugger section so I can show you. So due to this problem we are not able to create this function1 class here. So what we are going to do, we need to first see what is the problem we are actually making here. So here you can see first we just simply created public class and the first class, and the first line is good. This is not problem. The second line we created a string new one which was storing information, which is also good. Now the problem comes in the third line here on this system, on this particular line where we are actually trying to create a method. So let me just remove this line and see, try to write the function again, and let me just see this time maybe I make this thing right. So let me just come here. So right now we actually don't have any problem this time, and now just try to create the function here again. Maybe there is some problem, I just don't know. Just try to create the function, copy it again. I already created the function. So function is this. Okay, let me just print this function here, which I just already created. Okay, so public void in the print greeting, this will be good, and then the place of greeting, it was actually going to print. Okay, so the problem is this new one because it was a reserved keyword and it was not going to take as this. So we need to change this name, string some new name like message1, and now this part is done. So string message1, Control C, and let's try to put this thing here, message1. Now this time our program was having no any problems. Now let's try to click on file and click again on save, and let's see how this thing works. So now it was again saving this thing, and now this time we don't have any other problems in executing this particular part. Now let's try to execute this thing this time and see does we are getting the error. Is my voice clear to all of you right now? No, we are actually not passing any parameter because no, we are actually not passing anything in this parameter because you see this was a void function. It was not actually returning anything. So here we don't need to call anything because this function is actually calling by itself. You are passing something when your function needs some arguments. Here you can see this function actually don't need anything. So here we actually created this print greeting this time. So let me remove this line actually here and copy this. So now this time this print greeting was actually does not need any parameter, and this function is a void type, so it was also not returning anything. Now if we click on execute, this time our code was executed successfully, and if we go on the debugger section, Here you see, on this debugger section, we are able to see the output hello world. And now if you come on the logs also, you will be able to see some information. Like here you can see execute anonymous apex. And here we are also see that we are able to execute our class. So if you go a little bit down here, you can see method existment from where this method was calling. It was calling from demo first class. So you are also able to see that this was a particular method from the classes. And now how this particular works. So let's talk about this class once again to clear the concept. First, we created a class with a public access modifier, then the class keyword to create class name, parenthesis for this class. Then we created a string method message, which was actually storing a message hello world. After this, we created a function. For creating a function, what we need to do, you need to use first public void print greeting and then this thing. Then after this, we use system.debug message1, and here we just simply print our message. Now let's go to the next part and see what happened if I change this method from public to private. Now if I change this public to private, let's see does I'm able to access this method again using the same function or not. So now if I click again on files and click on save this time, now this code was again saved, but this time the problem is here that we just change this public to a private method. Now if we click on execute this time, let's see what we are going to get. So here we are getting a error. Now this is what we are talking about, encapsulation, or you can say the data abstract encapsulation means hiding the unnecessary data from the users. So here you can see we are getting an error. Here you see we are getting an error on line 2 column 8, method is not visible, void demo first class print greeting. So when you use a private method, you are not able to see this method inside using this class. So you are not able to access this method. So how we are going to access a private method? Before that, we have a one more option. If we make this method a static, then we are able to access this private method. Now, if you see this time, this method is actually a private and we are not able to access this method. Now, what happened if I change from private to global? Because we have one more option, global, in this particular programming language. So if I just make the method global, let's see what happens. Now, if I make global and try to save this code, here you can see I'm going to get an error. Let's try to save this code. And here you can see we get an error on the problem section. And see what is the error we are getting. We are getting defined type for global method must be declared as global. Means if you have a class of public, then you are not going to initialize a global variable inside, because global is more you can say freely or more accessible than public, or it has less restriction. So what actually I want to try to tell you, on the top we have protected, then we have public, and then we have private. After this we have public, and in last we have global. So if you create a class of public, then you are not going to create a function of global inside this public class. You need to create the function of private or protected. Means the functions which you are creating inside a class, it needed to be more, or it needed to be less, or you can say it needed to be less functional or less accessible than the class. You can create public classes inside public, but you are not going to use global, because this class is a public. It has some restriction, but global does not have a restriction. So if you create a public class and you created a global function, then this class is not going to give you the access of this thing. So you are not able to create global. So if you created a private class, at that time you are not able to create public inside this. But if you created a global class, then you are able to create global methods. So if I create this class, change from public to global, at that time this problem will not come here. So if I just remove from public to global, this time this problem was not having. So now if I click on files and try to save this thing, now it was saving, and here this time the code was actually taking a time saving. Okay, when it was done, here we are on the downside, we are also going to get this error found. So this time see, we are going to get a different error, like unexpected token demo. Because we just specify global, here we need to specify also class. So let me just create this name as class keyword, because we just also remove the class, and now this is done. Now if we try to save this code again, we are not going to see any errors in this section, because this time global is a class and we are trying to create a global function inside this class, and this will work properly. So if we click on save this time, this code was actually saved and it was not going to give any error. And now if I try to access this function, this time I'm able to access it. So now if I try to execute this thing again, this time you see the code was executed successfully. And now if I click on the debugger section, here I'm going to see my message here again. Now this is how the simple thing is going to work. But the question is here, what happened if we created a public class and we are going to store a public, let me just write here, copy this line, wait a second. How we are going to access the private methods or the protected method of a public class. So let's see. So first I'm going to create a public class, and then everything will be same. And this time I'm going to create a method here, a private method. And now I'm going to see how I'm going to access this private method. So for accessing a normal method, this will be not a private, okay, void private void, and this name it ting. Okay, so private void ting, we have a method name here, and we just created. Now here the problem is code is done, but when we try to execute this thing, we are actually not able to get this thing work, because we are going to get an error that this particular method is invisible from us. So if we click on execution this part, we are going to get this error again, method does not exist or incorrect signature. So how we are going to access this particular method? For accessing a private method, we have some other functionality. Either we have two things. Either we create a static keyword which was used for accessing a method, or you can use like a new way to access these methods, private methods. So the basic is, and the best way is, we use sometime access modifiers. Like, I'm sorry, we are actually using, you can say, basic static keywords to do these type of things. So let me just start this thing. Just give me a second, guys. Okay, just give me a second. Just give me a second, guys. I just need to drink water, then I'm going to start this class again. Okay, I think everyone is able to hear me right now. Is everyone able to hear me right now? Okay, so what we are trying to talk here about private method. So private method is not directly accessible outside of the class. So how this method is going to work if this is not actually accessible outside? So actually we are creating private methods in the class. So we can use this method inside this class. So we are actually using this method inside this class sometime or many times. So when you created a private method, for example, when you are working for a company or you created a particular suppose method, like let me just write here a password method, like you created a method for password or which was going to create password account to, like suppose you have, sometime you see some websites create a password for you automatically when you log in. So it will create a password from your mobile number. So at that time you actually don't want this method to be accessed by outsiders. So what we did, we actually created this method using this private or protected thing, and when the password was created for this, we are actually able to save this password inside. So we actually created these method and we access this method inside the class. So we are actually using or accessing private method inside the class. Now the question is where and how you are going to access this particular thing. So if you want to access this thing inside the class, what you need to do, you need to write your function inside the class, or you just simply use to print this thing, or you can just simply call this function inside the class and this thing was executed. But we are going to get any result outside. Now this is the basic way of hiding or extracting information. Now let's come to the next thing, and we are going to talk about a keyword. Now the keyword, does anyone have any question? Okay, so we are not able to directly use the private access modifier or the protected outside of the. Sir did not get the difference between. See, global and or you can say the public. So right now, if I talk about the difference in the global and public, let me just write this in a more appropriate way. So let me just open the access modifier thing. So just come here. So now in Apex, we have four type of access modifier. Let's start with the first, which will be the global access modifier. Now here come the global and public. Now what is the basic difference between global and public? See, global and public access modifiers. So first we talk about the global access modifier. Global access modifier is like access by anything. It will be like the accessing any class, or you can say it was used in any class. So you can create a global access modifier and you can use that particular in anywhere. You can inherit that method in anywhere or any particular place. Now, but the public is a little bit less restricted. Public has some restriction on the comparison of global and public. So the first thing you need to remember that global is more free than particular public, and public is less freely than global. Now, public will be accessible within your Apex application. For example, in the Apex application, for example, you created a CRM software where you created public class. So these classes are only accessible inside this particular application or the namespace. But global will be accessible everywhere, including outside your namespace or other org or other packages. So if you created a global class, it was accessible outside of the class, means it was accessible anywhere. Like let me just give you a quick example what I want to tell you. So if we just come here, let me just open Salesforce again here. So if I open Salesforce again here this time, okay. So what is the basic thing? Actually, it will. I just don't want. If I just don't want to open this. Okay. So what is the basic difference between global and here? I'm just going to show. So here you can see right now you are in my Salesforce application, And if you see, I have some different CRM softwares, and you are also able to some different CRM software on your particular thing also. So now if you come on the CRM software, here you can see you have a service in this section app. You are able to see different CRM software this time. So if I click on the app launcher, here you see we have different CRM software like service marketing community. So suppose you created this service software or this service CRM. In this service CRM, you have different classes like you have home class, chatter class, account class. Now this home class, in this home classes, you created this home as a public class. So this home was only accessible inside this service, means it was only accessible inside this application. But if you come on, suppose on marketing CRM classes, and inside this you created a class named global. Suppose you created a name class global home or global public. Now this particular global class was not only accessible inside this marketing, but it was also accessible inside every other applications like this service console, sales consoles contain Salesforce chatter community, marketing CRM and everywhere. So the basic difference between your, you can say, the global and public is only accessible inside a particular solution, where global is accessible outside of the application or anywhere else in this particular section. So this is the basic difference between global and public. And if you talk about who is more restricted, then public is more restricted than global, and global is more free. After global, we have private. Private is only accessible inside a class, means you are not able to access private methods outside of the class. And this is how access modifier works. So access modifier is like basically you can say used for modifying your all the, you can say, privacy and protections in the program. Like you can see, if you created protected method or private methods, you are not able to access those methods directly. You are need to use these methods inside the classes. Private is basically same way the works. Now private is a little bit more useful than protected, because protected was, suppose you created two class, like I think you already familiar with two class, inner class and outer class. So suppose if we are in this demo first class, and let me just come on this. Okay, so if we are in demo first class, and inside this class you created one more class, and suppose in the first class you created a protected type of function, then that particular function was only accessible in this class or this first class. It was not accessible in the child class. So private classes is accessible inside the whole class, where protected was only accessible inside this class, means it was not accessible outside of the class. So if you created a protected inside child, it was only accessible in child, and if you created protected inside the parent, it was only accessible within the class and its subclass. Now, private is the best access only within the same class. Public, you can say with your org or anywhere, where global can be used as anywhere. By default, if you don't specify a class name, suppose in this section, if you don't specify the access modifier sometime, by default, the Salesforce known as the data type as private. So if you don't specify here private, you just simply write your function name like void the things. What it was going to do, it was going to make this thing as a particular, you can say, simple terms, you can say a public private type of function. The same way, if you created a string and you don't specify the type of a string, the same time this string is also going to work as a new as a private method, or as a private you can say variable. So now if this time if I try to save this code and try to execute, actually I'm going to get an error. Okay, now the error was not this time was coming. Now here you can see this time I just remove here from void. I actually remove here void. So now this word is named as private. And the same way this string has also not an access modifier. So if you want to create a variable, the variable must have its access modifier also. And these access modifier needed to be either public or private. Like this part is done. Now let we are going to come on next classes. On the next class, we are going to see some other keywords in the classes like static keywords, and see other access modifier like private, protected, public, and global. And we are going to see the examples of these methods. We created different class, try to use all these things together. Have a great day, all of you. Let's on the next class, and on the next class, we are going to see more about classes.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll wind up for the day. We'll meet again by tomorrow at 7 p.m. Yeah, dear students, I hope you all marked your attendance. If you have not marked it, kindly mark your attendance. I'm just sharing it once again on the chat. Kindly mark your attendance. So we will wind up for the day. We'll meet again by tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you all for joining. Good night.